Hi, this is Greg. I just got done doing some rides on this beautiful Citizen London bike. Now come along and join me and I'll tell you all about my thoughts on it and whether it's a bike for you. Meow! Alright, let's test out this super fun Citizen London bike. We're gonna take it out on a country ride on some of the back roads and see how it goes and how far we get, how long the battery lasts and all that fun stuff, and see how the ride is. So we're starting out here in beautiful Smith Center, Kansas, and let's go see what we see. I'm here on the Citizen, and Kareen is on the electric XP 2.0. Watch out for a review of that coming soon. Here we go. Oh, truck behind you. Going down to 281. The beautiful Kansas countryside. As you can imagine, not too many hills, and definitely not many mountains. So one thing I want to mention is I sprung for the premium seat, paid a little extra, and in my opinion, it's not that comfy. It kind of makes me wonder what their standard seat feels like, because it's not the worst seat, but not the best seat either. So anyway, you may just want to, if you get this bike, you may want to just get the standard seat included and then buy your own cushy seat later if you're into comfort like I am. Comfort is king. And the noise on this, I should point out, you hear a steady kind of humming. It's not too bad. Yeah, not really a loud bike. I've had louder e-bikes, not the quietest either though. And I've got it in the max speed that keeps me cruising about 13 miles an hour. You can do a little cheat code and make it go up to 18, I guess. But right now it's in the fastest speed and I'm cruising about 13, and I'm pedaling, not hard, but I'm pedaling like pretty steadily. And look at that beautiful house there. There's Polsmus. And there's the golfers over at the Smith Center Golf Course. And look at this beautiful log cabin style place that someone made. Doing a little off-road in here. Does this look decent?
Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, all right, let's try it. I should. So now we're trying the crazy back dirt roads. Oh my goodness. A little sluggish getting up this hill, but not that bike. Well, these are supposed to be pretty tough.
Hey, I warned you.
I know.
You should take heed.
Probably.
It's being silly.
I probably should. But I want to get some of this footage. This is pretty. You got to be careful going over these hills because a truck could come going, you know how fast. Oh my goodness, this thing just cuts out on the hill. I was pedaling and it just kind of quit. It's not very responsive as it should be. This bike is very unresponsive when you're on hills. Like, I had to throttle because I was pedaling and it just wasn't kicking in. I think the Frisco, their last bike, was better. Whoa! I almost hit some cow pies there. There's corn-fed Corrine. No, you're tough. You're healthy. Yeah, it's not going at all because I don't hear a sound. I'm gonna turn it off and back on and see if that helps. Because it is giving me no assist at all. There, I think it's giving me a little. All right, so now we're at the 14-mile mark and I'm down to my last bar on the battery, which is a little disappointing. We did end up doing a little off-roading here, but the road is pretty solid, so it's not like gravel or anything, so the bike should get good grip. It shouldn't affect the mileage too much. We have had a few little rolling hills, but nothing major, no big mountains to climb. So 14 miles, 1 bar left. Let's see how far we can go. guess I gotta throttle it. I'm really upset that the pedal assist isn't working. It's like it's not working at all. All right, so we finally got to the point where the battery said no mas. And that was just under 18 miles. We got almost 18 miles out of it. And there was a few little rolling hills that we went on. We did go on some dirt roads, but this isn't like a gravel road where your wheel's just gonna spin. These are very solid roads. So it should be similar to what you'd get on blacktop. So anyway, yeah, so the mileage that you get, most of this I had on, actually I had about half, the first half of the ride was on the 5th setting, the fastest, and that's the fastest before you do the little cheat code and go up even higher. So, and then about halfway through the ride, I realized we were not going to make it home. So then I dropped it down to about level 3. And one complaint I had is that oftentimes on the hills, the pedal assist would just cut out completely. I literally had to hit the throttle to give me that boost up the hill. I was pedaling at a pretty good pace, and it just, the battery was giving me nothing, or the pedal assist. So there's some sort of flaw in their pedal assist system.
Well, the batteries ran out, but we have our hero here, Raquel. She came and saved us. So ended up being a good ride after all.
And she even cut out in the middle of a roofing job. But luckily there was room for our 2 bikes. Okay, so now we're gonna do the speedometer test to see how accurate the speedometer is on this thing, and to see how fast we can get it going with pedal assist and with just throttle. All right, so I'm gonna start off with just the pedal assist and see how fast I can go. It's on the highest setting, on the turbo setting, and we'll see how fast we can get this thing up to. Oh. And for comparison, so we can see the accuracy, I got my Sunto watch, and this is a GPS watch, so this is going to be providing very accurate readings. So we'll compare that with what's on the computer of the bike here. All right, here we go. So right now I'm pedaling about as hard as I can, and we're getting, let's see, it's hovering around 17, about 16.7 average. Let's take a look at the watch. The watch shows we're actually only going about 15 miles per hour, so the speedometer is definitely off by about a mile per hour, between a mile and 1.5 miles per hour. But kind of my point of the test was to see how fast I could get it on just the pedal assist. And so it looks like I was doing the accurate reading about 15 miles an hour, and that's pedaling about as hard as I can on flat ground here. So now we'll try the pedal assistance, I mean the throttle. Now we'll try the throttle and we'll see how fast we can get it going with just the throttle. Okay, so according to the computer on the bike, we're doing between 18 and 18.5 It did slip into 18.7 for a second. According to my watch, we're only doing 17, right around 17 miles an hour. So it looks like full throttle, you're gonna get about 17 miles per hour. And like I said, the bike's computer is 1 mile per hour to 1.5 miles per hour off on the speedometer. So it's gonna show you're going faster than you're really going. So let's try it. We've got a little bit of a downslope here. So once again, the computer on the bike shows we're doing 19.8. The GPS says we're only doing about 18, 17.9, 18. So, well, in this case, it's actually nearly 2 miles per hour off on the higher end. So speedometer is not very accurate, even though it is set for the correct pedal size, for the correct wheel size. All right, coming across the tracks here. All right.
$24.39.
I'm gonna give you my impressions of the Citizen London e-bike now that I've had a few rides on it. Some time to check it out, test the different features of it. And so right off the bat, what struck me about this bike is how pretty it was. I'd say this is probably one of the loveliest, most elegant e-bikes I've ever seen. And a big part of that is due to the fact that the battery, like I mentioned, the battery is inside the down tube, and there's the power cable. And what's cool is you can, so when you lock the bike up when you travel somewhere, you can unplug that battery cable real easily from the bottom, and you can pull it out and take it with you. That keeps your battery and your seat safe, so if you have a nice premium seat. This is the premium seat that, this isn't the stock seat that comes with the bike. I paid a few bucks extra to get this. And it's a relatively comfy seat. It has a little bit of shocks. It's not like super comfy, but it's probably better than the stock seat. So yeah, I love the looks of it. When you look at it, it's probably the most streamlined e-bike in the way of no clunky battery anywhere. There's not even a lot of cables and whatnot. They did a great job of kind of tucking the cables in nicely. And if somebody didn't know, it would be easy not to even realize that this was an e-bike, because it's pretty well designed in that aspect. So yeah, I love how pretty it looks. I'll flip around, show you the other side here. So even like the wheel set here, the gear set is really nice looking. And I like that the chain is down inside there, so you're not going to catch your pants or anything on that. So yeah, just a really neat feature. So looks, I would say this gets an A+ on looks. Just a beautiful, very nice looking bike. Love these kind of leatherish, I'm not sure if they're real leather, but they're very lovely hand grips. And just a great bike. Okay, now let's get into the ride on it. One thing I noticed on the ride, for one, right off the bat, the speedometer on here, well, it's kind of a downside. It comes in kilometers per hour, so you have to switch it. And to get the manual, I found that you have to call Citizen and have them email you a PDF of the manual. They do not send out a PDF. They do not send out a manual with the bike. And then the manual was a little difficult to understand. It seems like it was written maybe in China or somewhere, and then kind of roughly translated in English. A lot of the things in it were kind of hard to figure out. They didn't really make sense. So I did eventually figure out how to get the speedometer switched to miles per hour. And then the predecessor to this bike, which I reviewed a few years ago, that was the Citizen Frisco. They had the same situation in which the speedometer is not super accurate. Let me turn it on. The speedometer I found to usually be 1 or 2 miles per hour off of what I was actually going, and I tested that with my Suunto watch, which has a high level of accuracy, and this thing would usually tell you you were going 1 to 2 miles per hour faster than you were actually going. So when they say the speeds that they say it tops out at, I didn't find to be super accurate. Then, like any e-bike, the battery gauge that you see here, like any e-bike, these things can be frustrating. This isn't specific to Citizen. Just about every e-bike I've had, you'll hit a hill and it'll drop down to like 1 or 2 bars, and you'll think, oh no, my battery's almost empty. And then you'll get to the other side of the hill coasting down, and you'll get back to full power and whatnot. So the battery, it's basically just basing on the drain you're putting on the battery at that time. But yeah, so my impressions of that are the same as any e-bike, not super accurate, but they kind of give you you just want to rely on those as like the gist of how much battery you've got left, but not hard and fast facts there. The pluses of this bike is I found that on flat ground, the bike was awesome. It was very responsive. The cadence sensor was very responsive to how fast I was pedaling. So basically, if you're using the pedal assist, then when you pedal, it's very responsive and it gives you that nice boost that you're looking for. However, going up hills, I found the cadence sensor or whatever it is to be very ineffective. When I would go up hills, I found myself having to hit the throttle button just to be able to make it up the hill, because I would shift to the lowest gear and I'm pedaling as fast as I can, and basically I didn't feel any help from the electric. I didn't feel like I was getting any boost. It was like it was all me. But then as soon as I would push down on the throttle, then it would give me that little nice boost to get me up the hill. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's just not powerful enough to really give you much assist going up hills with the pedal assist, but I was pretty unhappy with that. So I would say if you're living in a very hilly place, not a good bike. If you live in a pretty flat in a city and you're just riding on fairly flat or some minor slopes, then this is a great bike because it did really fine on all the flats. And even like the minor hills, it was just when I would hit like a more steep hill that it would really just cut out on me. And of course this bike has no shocks, which makes it great for a city bike, but as soon as you get out on a bumpy road, you really feel the lack of shocks there. So once again, just mainly designed to be a city bike, so that's not a problem. They're not selling this as an off-road bike, so just something I wanted to mention in case you were wondering how it would do out on the country roads. Okay, and one of my favorite features about this bike that I think is really awesome is the lightweightness of it. This thing is super light, probably the lightest e-bike out there, or definitely one of the lightest. I think it weighs in at 30 some pounds, and it's just really easy to pick up. So a lot of, and being a folding bike, I think that's important because we tried out another folding bike and it was probably twice this weight. So even you think, I can fold it, throw it in my car trunk, but even folded, the other one was so heavy it was quite a chore. This one is actually practical to fold and carry up to your apartment or whatever, carry into work. So they did a great job on keeping this very lightweight. The battery life. So the battery life is not fantastic on this. So I did a full ride to see how long I could get, And I went out, we're here in Kansas, and it's fairly flat, but there are some hills. So we did a few like up and down on the hills, but I would say probably 80 to 90% of the ride was flat ground. And we were only able to get about 18 miles, actually just shy of 18 miles. The battery started really going out on me, where you're getting a little boost, but you can tell you've lost a lot of the power. So when you, and so I was a little disappointed in that. I thought I would get at least, I think that on their website they say 20 plus miles on a charge, and I weigh in about 200 pounds. I'm just shy of 200, so that'll give you an idea. So if you're around 200 pounds, you can figure you can safely get 16, 17 miles with full power. Like I said, that last mile before I hit 18, it was just kind of chugging along. It was giving me the assist, but not the full assist that I felt earlier in the ride. So not great for really long distances. Of course, if you live within, 5-6 miles of your work, that wouldn't even be an issue. And the battery, I did find it to charge up pretty quickly. So yeah, if you are riding longer distance, then you can definitely stop and give it a quick charge. I think it was just a couple of hours. It got the battery got full charge. Okay, so one thing that I was a little disappointed with, you're paying $1,300, which of course, as e-bikes go, isn't super expensive, but it's not the cheapest. I mean, there are cheaper deals. So one thing I was disappointed in is paying $1,300 and I did not get the fenders. I had to pay extra for these. No light. There's looks like a socket for a light or basket or something, but no light, didn't come with a light. Had to pay extra for the seat as well. And then if you want a rear rack, that's also an additional charge. And I think you would have to buy the rear rack from Citizen. It doesn't look like a standard type rack. It's a kind of a proprietary thing there. So by the time it's all said and done, you're probably looking at $1,500 to $1,600 just to have what I would consider like the standard things, accessories that you would want for an e-bike. And it does come with the dual disc brakes. I did notice a little bit of rubbing. I did not take the time to get that finely tuned in, but there was a little rubbing sound from the get-go, but they seemed like very responsive, seemed like good quality brakes. They worked very well, good stopping power. So yeah, I did like the dual disc brakes. You probably want to take it to a bike shop and kind of tune that in a little bit if you notice any rubbing, if you hear that sound coming from that when you first start riding it. Other than that, the bike did come pretty well tuned in. Everything is ready to go. Like I mentioned in the unboxing, the tires even come inflated and the battery comes fully charged. So you can literally, within 10 minutes of getting this bike, you can be on it and riding down the road. So that's pretty awesome. So my overall impressions of this, one thing I found also that was missing, I don't know if they have this, but it was not listed in the manual, but their Citizen's previous e-bike, the Frisco, had cruise control. I could not figure out if this had cruise control or not. I found no mention of it in the manual. That was a super awesome feature. It's because when you're doing the throttle here, believe it or not, if you're going for a long journey, after a while your thumb starts getting sore from holding the throttle down. So it would have been nice if they would have kept that cruise control that they had on their last version, where you can just dial it in and then you let go of the throttle and the bike just keeps going. That's if you don't want to pedal. So my overall impression of the Citizen London is that it's a beautiful bike. If I lived in the city where I was doing commuting to work, this would definitely be a bike I would buy. But if you live out where there's any hills at all or out in the country, not really recommended, just due to a few of the factors I mentioned. But overall, I think it's a pretty well put together bike, and the price is reasonable. Citizen does have a really top-notch return program where they give you 30 days to try the bike out. So I've decided it's not going to be a fit for me, so I'm going to be sending it back. But that's really generous of them. So I would say if you're on the fence about this bike, I would go ahead and get it because you have 30 days to try it. You do have to pay the return shipping. So I will let you know what that costs. I'm about to go down and send this back right now. But it's nice to know that if you're spending $1,300 on a bike, you're not stuck with it if you don't like it. So I would say if you're on the fence, the best thing to do, get it. ride it for a month, see how you feel, and if it's not what you want, then no questions asked. I called them. They didn't even ask me, but I just said I wasn't super satisfied with it, and the guy said, no problem, here's the information, ship it back to us. So great customer service at Citizen. I should also point out, when you do call them, I almost always get somebody on the phone right away. They don't really have long wait times, so they do an excellent job of staffing their customer service, and they're very helpful too if you have questions. So Citizen is a company I would definitely do business with again. And anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope this helped you make your decision on whether this is the bike for you. Thanks for watching. Okay, so just a little final update here. I just wanted to say that the return process was not as easy as I anticipated. Well, it did cost over $100. That's kind of to be expected to ship from mid-America back to Florida. So if you live on the West Coast, it's probably going to be even more. So I think it was actually about $120 or so for the shipping. So that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that it took about 3 months to get my money back. And that was after they received confirmation of the bike. It took like 3 or 4 phone calls until they finally put the money back on our credit card. So I wasn't quite as thrilled with their customer service after that, because I called and they said, yeah, we got your bike, you should get your money soon. And then like a week would go by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then finally, after 3 or 4 calls, they did put the money back. So you will get your money back, but just be prepared for it to be a 2 to 3 month process. So if you can deal with that, then I'd say definitely go ahead, get the bike and give it a try.